Every big story is a chance for a culture war battle, and now that we have the news that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged, the floodgates have opened up from folks like Charlie Kirk, who's now challenging Taylor Swift to submit to Travis. I'm going to share what Charlie Kirk had to say. Then I'm going to share what Kirk Cameron had to say. That's right, Kirk Cameron, ever trying to stay relevant, has some thoughts about Taylor Swift's demonic music. Let's have a listen to this.
But maybe one of the reasons why Taylor Swift has been so just kind of annoyingly liberal over the last couple of years is that she's not yet married and she doesn't have children.
Hold on a second. What does it mean, and this is where I would press back on Charlie Kirk, what does it mean that Taylor Swift is overly liberal? What is it that she believes in a woman's ability to choose what to do with her body? I mean, I honestly don't understand. Is it that she's LGBTQ friendly? Like, what exactly has Taylor Swift done? People on the left think Taylor Swift hasn't done enough.
And I hope that America's biggest pop star marrying the pharmaceutical spokesperson,
I also want to say she's the world's biggest pop star,
ends up conservatizing them. Taylor Swift might de-radicalize herself.
Okay, so now we're assuming that Taylor Swift is radicalized. Taylor Swift, known for donating to food banks in every city she performs in, known for going to hospitals when kids are sick or terminally ill and surprising them. And, what the hell is he talking about?
She might come back down to reality. I want them to have lots of children.
Why?
It teaches you something about yourself. Deep down, I think Taylor Swift actually was raised as a conservative that has gotten kind of caught up in this metropolitan liberal stuff, and she doesn't quite have an attachment to the conservative backbone that she was raised in, but this might reattach her in the best possible way. And I'm not saying this sarcastically. I've seen this happen time and time again. When people start to get married and have children, it starts to change your politics.
I'll tell you this. Having a son, 15 and a half months old, beautiful boy. And again, you might say, well, you don't know, wait 10 more years. It has actually made me want to focus more on changing policy to help people that are less fortunate than I am. In fact, I think I'm becoming less conservative and more wanting to tax the billionaires so that we can fund things like food stamps, knowing that I was raised on them for a time and it helped my mom get back on her feet. I struggle with this idea that a lot of people that are like super culture war folks, they have this idea that if you're liberal or left-leaning or progressive, that you're like some beta, some lesser than. I think the strongest move you can do as an alpha, just to use these terms that they like to use, would be to want to provide not just for your own kids, but for as many kids and families as possible. That to me seems so much more of a brave move. And that's exactly what Taylor Swift does, is she uses her platform to help out a hell of a lot of people.
It starts to clarify your worldview. And for Taylor Swift, who obviously is very popular and incredibly supported, Taylor Swift might go from a cat lady to a J.D. Vance supporter. And I think we should celebrate that. I think that Taylor Swift having 2 or 3 children, she should have more children than she has houses. That is my challenge, Taylor Swift. And I'm not being sarcastic. I think that if she ends up having children, she'll stop this kind of liberal endorsing Joe Biden nonsense. And we want Taylor Swift on Team America. We want you to leave the island of the wokies. And we would welcome you with open arms. One of the reasons why so many people on the right have been just skeptical or at least a little bit negative on Taylor Swift is, up until this point, that's not a great role model for young women, to wait all the way until you're 35 and just put your career first. We just talked about this with Katie Miller. However, there's a great chance to change that.
People put their career first because of wealth inequality and the inability to afford to have a family. This guy's a fucking jabroni. You know what I mean? Like he's very, very wealthy man, has no idea. And again, I know he speaks to some of this wealth inequality stuff, but to say that she's a bad role model because she didn't decide to pop children out at a younger age, that's fucking ridiculous. And she's brought together so many families that go to support her events. I mean, look, I don't need to pimp for Taylor Swift here. It's just it's such a shitty take.
It's a great chance for Taylor Swift now to get married and have a ton of children. You can certainly afford it, Taylor. Pfizer pays well, baby. I mean, Pfizer pays.
Okay, so very strange. Very strange stuff here. Listen, if she lived in California, they'd call her this woke coastal, but like she's a Tennessean, comes from Pennsylvania, but moved to Nashville as a teen, to pursue country music. I think it worked out just fine for her. And again, I'm not surprised by these channels. They sort of like a barnacle, they latch on to every story and make it a culture war story. Here we have Kirk Cameron saying as a Christian, he has to ask what values are being promoted here. And I love this because it's not a knock on Christianity. It's a knock on toxic Christianity. When you only have a hammer, you see everything as a nail. And the sort of lens of purity that you need when you're a toxic, like evangelical, when you're like this, you're not perfect, so you're a demon. It's absolutely ridiculous.
This billionaire pop star in heels is crowned the voice of a generation. What do you get when a billionaire pop star releases an album with provocative artwork, lyrics that mock God, glorify rebellion, and celebrate explicit sin?
Now, you might remember his sister, Candace Cameron, was wildly offended by the French Olympic opening ceremony, the Festival of Dionysus. They were dressing as trans. Oh my gosh, can you close your eyes, Jimmy? No, don't look at it. Listen, I want to raise my kid where he can go to a Broadway show and see can dancers and see the Rockettes and experience art for what it is. We in the Western world, specifically in the United States, are so conservative, and I don't mean this politically, I mean this culturally. We are so conservative that we blur out the nipple in a commercial, and we don't look at the butt cheeks. No. It's like we're so obsessed with purity and perfection. And you just don't see that in many parts of the world. You really don't. You just see people, in it, because it leads to creepiness where it's like, the Mike Pences who can't go out to dinner with a staffer because, whatever. It's very bizarre. Very, very bizarre. And you look at Taylor Swift, her promotional material, she's in like a showgirl outfit. She's got pantyhose on. She's wearing more clothes than the girl that's going to serve you at Applebee's. And yet, no, it's terrible. It's too lustful. I'm feeling blood rush to my extremities. This is so,
You get the most powerful sermon that America's youth will hear this year. She mocks God in her lyrics.
Does she? Does she mock God?
She normalizes sin. She glorifies lust and rebellion as if this was womanly empowerment. Her songs are not just music. This is discipleship. She doesn't have any kids of her own, but raising kids is hard. Why get into all that when she can just disciple your kids and train them up in the way that she would like for them to go?
I don't think she gets to decide who her fans are. This is that responsibility they put on the artist sometime. How about this, Kirk Cameron? It's up to you how you want to raise your kids. It's not up to Taylor Swift, right? How bizarre. Am I living, people in other countries see this and they go, is all of America like this? And the truth is it's not. And by the way, there will be people that immediately get defensive because the second they see you criticizing something that is even adjacent to their religion, they go, oh, you're part of the devil too. No. Don't get it miscalculated here. The restricting that people like Kirk Cameron and Charlie Kirk want to do to women's bodies and making them want to, live under the control of the husband, that's not what Jesus Christ was all about. So let's play this last clip here. Oh, excuse me. Let's play this last clip here from Charlie Kirk talking about she should learn how to submit to Travis.
Pays the bills. That is quite a ring, Mr. Kelsey. I'm impressed. This is something that I hope will make Taylor Swift more conservative. Engage in reality more and get outside of the abstract clouds. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge. And most importantly, I can't wait to go to a Taylor Kelsey concert. I can't say it without laughing.
Oh, he fumbled. He fumbled the final part of his rant here. Charlie Kirk, what a weird cat. Now, you might remember Clayton Echard went on Charlie Kirk's because at the time he was trying to get any press he could get, and he got a lot of shit for it. And look, I don't blame him for getting this shit, but I think it was still worth getting your message out there. But you knew Charlie Kirk was going to try to, they try to take every situation and apply it into, is this a culture war issue? If so, what's the war? Is it the war on Christmas? Is it the war on the youth? Is it on Christian values? It's just it's nauseating how it's one thing after another.
Newsflash, whoever wants the future for our children, whoever wants the culture of tomorrow the most, is going to get it.
Why does he feel like it's a white supremacy? He's out there, he's got his American flag backlit, and he's talking about a battle for culture. I don't think anybody except extreme religious zealots, I don't think anybody really cares about the battle for culture. Bro, just chill,
Whoever cares about the values that our children will live with will get the privilege of defining them. Do you want them more than the enemies of freedom and family and God and America?
So I guess the question is Taylor Swift an enemy of freedom, God, or America? I went up on ChatGPT, this idea of wives submitting to your husband. It's one of the most debated and misused teachings from the Bible. The fallacy comes from how this passage is taken out of context, applied selectively, or misunderstood. Ephesians says, wives, submit to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. Colossians says, wives, submit yourself to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. These verses are quoted in isolation. The common fallacies in how it's used. Just one verse earlier in Ephesians, Paul says, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. The context is mutual, not one-sided. So look, yes, to say submit to your husbands would be half the truth, but the husbands submit to your wives. Now, Taylor knows this. Taylor's in charge, and she's in this sort of thing that it's so, I'll just end on this. It sounds so sad to me to think that there are wives who have submitted to their husbands to the extent that they don't have bank accounts, they don't have any money, they don't have any income, which again, if you have a family living together, it's like you should share expenses and all of that. But there's this idea that you submit to them because they're the breadwinner. When you could argue the husband should be submitting to the wife because she's in a lot of ways raising the family. She's breastfeeding the child. She's giving her body to the family. And she has to submit to the husband? I don't know, folks. Is it radical feminist of me to think that both people should be co-equal parts of a union and share, in the successes and the failures and the struggles together equally? I don't know. Maybe that's just a radical left lunatic idea. Let me know what you guys think. That's going to do it for me. We'll be back in the morning. I got pop culture and politics twice a day, every day. We'll see you then. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.